Hello, everyone. Welcome to Tea with TPS, informal conversations with thought leaders of the world. Today, we are particularly pleased to host Dr. Raji Menon, the former chairman of Asianet, and as a prominent businessman in Moscow, he was the first promoter of Asianet together with Sri Shashi Kumar. Later, he assumed the position of the chairman and ran the Asianet for several years and made it the leading TV channel in Kerala. After that, he went on to business again, and he is now in the second phase of his business, particularly in the hydrocarbon industry. He has a medical degree from Moscow, and after that, he has done two PhDs, one in political science and another in social sciences. After leaving Asianet, he was engaged in hydrocarbon sector in Ukraine. His was the first company to be accredited from India in Ukraine. He calls himself an eternal student, and he believes that he has much to do before he sleeps. He's a thinker, a technologist, and also a poet, I recently discovered. Incidentally, it was he who introduced me to the world of media, and I served for some time as his advisor in Asianet. So I'm grateful to him for the introduction he gave me to the world of media, which I still continue to be associated with. It's great to have you, Dr. Raji Menon.
Thank you. Asianet was not started by me or Shashi, who is my nephew. The idea came from Mr. Unnikrishnan, the general manager of PTI, another Malayali, who was my mentor in Moscow when I was a student there.
I knew in Moscow also.
Yeah. And then, but for Mr. Unnikrishnan's demise, because he had lung cancer, Asianet would have been a national channel. When Unnikrishnan became ill, I had a problem. I was not into media. I was a businessman. And then the idea came, Madhavan Gutti, who is no more, and Shashi came to me and said, why don't we start a Malayalam channel? And I said, okay. So the promotership of Shashi was given to him by me. I gave him 2% first, then I increased that to 15, 16 as my favorite nephew, then to 26. And when he requested 50%, I said, okay, I didn't even say that I'll give you 45 or 49. And then later, I had mentioned that earlier in Madhubhumi or somewhere. They picked it up saying that Bhajana Mut Urarnyai. That was the story. Anyway, not getting into it again. And I'm happy to have introduced you to Asianet, and you did very well with your program there. Thank you.
Well, great to have you again. At the moment, of course, the top topic for discussion around the world is the Russia-Ukraine war. Whatever you may want to call it, some people call it Russian invasion of Ukraine, but some people more moderately calls it a Russia-Ukraine war. Whatever it is, the situation has deteriorated. The war has continued beyond all of us what we had expected. The objectives of Russia have kept changing. President Putin has been shifting his goalposts all the time. And so we are headed for a big disaster unless something intervenes to stop this. How do you assess the situation, and what do you expect will happen in the war?
Well, I went to Moscow in 1970. I know that place more than I know India. I was there as a student. I was there as a businessman. I was there as a friend of many people. And I still have deep contacts in that part of the world, though I'm not in business there right now. Ukraine, we were the first company to be accredited there, the first company to supply them huge quantities of medicines from India. And before the coup that happened after Yanukovych, I had a meeting with the Prime Minister, and we had talked about putting up a pharmaceutical factory in Ukraine. I had a semi-finished factory near Odessa. And then in 2 weeks' time, suddenly the coup, and the legitimacy of that coup is something that one has to ponder about.
This is 2014 you're talking about?
Yep, 2014. Yes. Right. Okay. Now let's go back into history. When the Berlin Wall was broken and Soviet Union agreed to Germany coming together, I understand that there was a verbal agreement that NATO will not move 1 inch to east. Shevardnadze was the foreign minister. There are many people in Russia who say, if only Gromyko was still there and he was the foreign minister, that document, that agreement would have been, it would have been made into a document and we wouldn't have the problem of today. And what happened after that? NATO expanded towards east. Now, I am not a hard-souled admirer of Putin. I look at things in my own way, okay? But what's happening now is a reflection of the West not keeping its word. Let's call a spade a spade. And then recently, did not Putin say that, let us get into an agreement? This is not right. If I put my missiles into Cuba or Mexico, would you be happy about it? And if Ukraine joins NATO, would not our security be threatened? Let's have an agreement about Russia's security. But that was not done.
No, but one thing, Dr. Raji Menon, at that time, he said that he will go to war only if Ukraine joins NATO.
Yep.
There was not even an application. And therefore, the Western countries thought that there was time for these kind of things and they could discuss it further. They never said that they would take Ukraine into NATO. But they were reluctant to accept or given a formal assurance. Otherwise, for security-wise, it was not about to enter NATO, not even EU. So that is where he precipitated the crisis, don't you think?
Now, Ukraine joining NATO is one issue. Okay, he parallelly asked for an agreement, a full-fledged agreement wherein the security of Russia would be secured by an agreement. That Europe and America did not react to in the quick fashion as he expected.
Yes, there I agree. But they were still discussing. The French president was discussing it with him when he ordered the troops into Ukraine.
You can talk and talk and talk, and you are a diplomat, and then.
I'm just telling you my own assessment of the situation. Because if he had not precipitated the crisis, there was a possibility. If he had said, I would go to war today if you don't give me the guarantee, that's not what he said in the beginning.
But when you say war, Ukraine has not declared war on Russia. Russia is not saying are they at war with Ukraine? If they were at war with Ukraine, what are they saying? We are one. We are cleaning up the Nazis from that part of the world. Okay.
And the president
you know the Second World War, and there were some Ukrainians who sided with the Nazis. And when Yushchenko came to power, they were made into heroes. You know the story.
I know. But Zelensky is a Jew. Don't forget that.
Yeah.
How can he be a Nazi?
That's the greatest wonder of all. Zelensky is a comedian actor. He has no past as a politician. He never had a political party. In the absence of any, when people were absolutely disgusted with what's happening, the leaders they had, there comes this guy. I don't fully agree with your comparison of MGR with him, because MGR was a member of the Dravida Muneta Kazhagam. This guy was not.
But he built his image in the movies, and people expected him to be like that as a
one serial where he was the great hero, and people thought, wow. I mean, you know how it works with the majority of the people, and then in the absence of anybody else, he became the leader. Yeah, I don't think he himself expected that.
But today he is the hero of the people of majority of people of Ukraine.
No. Now, that's the problem. If you went to Malappuram and asked about the Muslims, and if you went to UP and asked about the Muslims, what would be the difference? That's the difference between when you go and interview some guys near Lviv, near Poland. They have one opinion. But why don't you go to Poltava? Why don't you go to Odessa? That part of that part of the country. So he has certain amount of support from the western part of Ukraine. The media in Ukraine is completely controlled. Okay, and I am married to an Ukrainian. For heaven's sake, I know what's happening there. Now, my wife's mother thinks that Ukraine is almost reaching Moscow. That's the sort of propaganda that's going on from one side. And they are winning.
The truth is the casualty in every war.
I mean, reality is split there. And so when our media guys, including Asianet, goes and takes an interview and says that 120% of the people support Zelensky, I sit and laugh, Mamma mia. I mean, what are you talking about? That's not the ground reality.
Well, true, but whatever it may be, the catastrophe that he has caused is disproportionate to the demands that he made initially. But later he said he want to recover the glory and glamour of the Soviet Union. He criticized Lenin, Stalin, Khrushchev, everyone, and said, now Soviet Union I have to save, and I am determined to save it. And then from a simple security arrangement to restoration of the Soviet Union, there's a huge way he has traveled.
I do not fully agree with that take too. Let me try to explain. This is an imagery made by the West. Okay, I am not anti-West. I am just trying to be objective in my own way. There is no Soviet Union anymore. There cannot be a dream like that. But let's look at another reality.
But in speech on 21st of February, he said that
he wants to build Soviet Union again?
Well, he said Soviet Union was being wronged by all these people, and therefore it is my duty to correct it. And that is what I'm determined to do. These were the words.
Okay. I don't represent him. Let me try to interpret that statement.
All right.
Now, I went to Moscow as a student. I was not a communist. My father was from the Congress. Okay. And having studied there, I saw the good that was in that country, how the common man was taken care of. You have worked in Moscow, you know the real story, okay? And then came Soviet Union, and I used to imagine, boy, with their sort of discipline and the amount of research they had done in the fundamental sciences, and if they get out of the twin technology dilemma they had, that any new finding, if it had a military use, then it had to be locked down, which was different from the American policy. Any new technology from the military would migrate into civilian use. Even internet came in like that. Okay, Soviet Union had that problem. They would lock it up. So most of the findings from the institutes, different institutes that they had, they were all locked up. So I thought that, boy, these people are going to change. And Soviet Union is going to be an absolute prosperous place in the world. My then wife came back to Moscow in 1997. She had some 30,000 rubles in the bank when she came to India in 1990. That was a lot of money. That was enough money to buy 3 cars, the Zigulis. I mean, you remember them possibly. And when she came back in 1997, those 30,000 rubles fetched not even 3 kilograms of meat. The first day she went up, she came back crying, saying that I felt sorry for those uncles, the pensioners, whose pension was not enough to buy a loaf of bread. The West should have helped them in 1991. Promises were made, but never kept. And you know the deplorable plight that Soviet Union, Russia under Yeltsin was towards 1998, 1999, the ruble was worth nothing.
Yes, it was Putin who saved the country. There's no doubt.
Yeah, in a way, he's the one who saved the country. And then I don't know what his plans are in his head, but I don't fully agree with the complete autocratic sort of rule they have. I don't agree with the few people. I think 10% of the population of Russia, they own 67% of the riches of the country. I mean, That's the worst scenario in the world. In India, it is about 47%. 10% of our the rich people own 47% of the riches of India. Okay, I agree with that. But then for the common Russian, he's still the hero. He's holding it together. And what a thing to support Navalny. This Navalny had it in him. I don't understand why don't you select somebody else who has at least a chance in front of Putin? Why do you select somebody like that? And the same thing in Belarusia. There's a lady who is supposed to be questioning the Belarusian president. Wow. Are you serious? Does she have ever a chance other than the fact that you are funding her and supporting her? So there are apparent realities which nobody talks about because everybody wants a son to go to US, a daughter to study in Europe, and I don't know what's happening.
Now 16,000 Indians studying in Ukraine, and that's another surprise. Anyway, but what do you think will happen eventually? Do you think this war will end soon? And what would be a compromise in your view?
There are 2-3 scenarios. I mean, I'm not into geopolitics, and that's not my specialty. Though I did my PhD in political sciences, so I am aware of what's happening, and I don't look at other people's opinion. I have my own opinion about things. I'm mature enough to make that. I believe not in 2 days, of course. It's just a matter of time before Putin will take over Kyiv, possibly. The West is not going to mingle in that, and they have as good as given up on him. I hear that they are talking about the Speaker of the Parliament being the next president, if they can put him there. But I believe that Putin made a statement when in Odessa, in a government building, people were burnt and killed. Putin said, and that was done by the Nazis, neo-Nazis. And Putin said, we know their names. We know every one of them.
So in other words, a new regime...
He will clean up. He will do a little bit of a clean.
Yes, but it could have been done with less damage. That's all that I'm saying, if you had negotiated. Anyway, that's a matter of the past.
Yeah.
Let us look at India's own position. Do you think it was right for us to have abstained on those resolutions?
Absolutely.
Because our interests are very much with both United States and Russia, and therefore we could not take in a different position.
We need Russian armaments. Our army is built upon that. And if it was 70, 80%, it has not come down to 30 and 40, still above 50%. That's reality. That's my understanding.
CIPRI says 82%. Our figures are 60 or 70. But the Swedish Institute says 82% of India's military technology.
Dependence on Russia, okay? And let's not forget the democratic India and the autocratic Pakistan, America that is spreading democracy in the world. Whom did they side with when we were at loggerheads? Let's not forget that.
Yes. In the Cold War, they were on the side of Pakistan, or Pakistan was on the side of the US.
Now, what I do not understand is why the West is delivering Russia into the hands of China.
That is the next point. They have now become thick as thieves in a very, very strange kind of a combination.
It is as though they are being pushed, pushed into the hands of China. And that is a dangerous thing to do because some of the, especially in the area of defense and areas, technology that Russia has, if China gets them, that will be a great leap in the military might of that country. And they can, they are only next to the US with regard to the amount of money they spend on defense. What's it now, $300+ billion against US 700+, whatever are the exact figures. Right. And that is danger. And Russia has immense resources by way of hydrocarbons. If China has access to that, the energy problem is solved. Of course, Iran is on the other side, whom they are friendly with, and they have no problem getting the energy from Iran, and there is nothing much the West can do about it.
So today we have Russia, China, Iran, Pakistan axis. They have their own quad, or at least it is developing, which is
I'm not very sure how much. I understand the Pakistani president had gone to Russia, but I am not very sure how much Pakistan is with Russia or Russia is with Pakistan.
Pakistan is the tail of China. Wherever China goes, they will go.
Yeah, that's a different thing, but not Russia. I mean, that's what I meant. I think for Russia, with regard to their defense export, India is the certifying country. If we buy, others buy. That was so, that is so even now. So they have special interest. And with regard to another point you had with regard to uh, Russian Indian business, I remember a time when I was active in the Indo USSR trade. USSR was our biggest trading partner. And now I don't know how much the amount is, under $20 billion or not even that.
But the recent agreements we signed with Putin, it is aiming at $100 billion. The
paper can take it all, isn't it?
Right.
And our prime minister went. I had a problem in Vladivostok. Our prime minister went there and promised them $1 billion.
Right.
Okay.
Credit.
After 1 year, Raji Menon goes there on a much smaller thing to put up a small pharmaceutical factory. And they said, yeah, your prime minister had promised us $1 billion. Now, not a penny came. And now you are here promising you will put up a pharmaceutical factory. Okay, we'll talk to you.
Did you set it up? Did you set it up?
No, not yet. Traveling is a big problem now. I went to Tajikistan now. I took 3 days to reach there because there are no connecting flights. You get stranded in an airport for 16 hours, another for 10 hours, and things like that. So
that's the sad part. We have just been through a pandemic for 3 years, and then you suddenly have another crisis on our hands. This is really a tragedy of human life. That's another story. So you think eventually we'll make up with Russia, or Russia will make up with us, and we'll go back to those old days? Or do you think we'll be pushed into an embrace into the United States tax as a result of all this?
Now the question is, what has Russia to offer us other than defense? Okay. Russian market has changed. They have got used to Prada and Christian Dior, and they don't want Indian shirts. And the poor people. And Turkey is there, Bangladesh is there, and they are offering the similar products in huge numbers. Indian engineering products, I was very much in it. I was the first one to supply computers to Soviet Union from India. Wipro worked with me. HCL worked with me those days. Those days are gone. Okay, hardware from India gone. So one has to reinvent the areas in which we can work together. Pharmaceutical seems to be one. Russia has a strategic drug list. Indian companies are very strong there, but
we are dependent on Chinese components.
On the raw material side, absolutely, yeah. But
that's not a very steady business we can build.
Generics form more than 50% of the Russian requirement of pharmaceuticals, not value-wise, I'm saying volume-wise. And India has a definite role to play, but I believe that Indian companies are wary about putting up factories there. And mind you, I have been out of that place for the last 10, 15 years. So my connection with Russia on the business side is a good 15 years, of age, and I have not been there. Okay. I was mostly in Ukraine.
We'll come to our most favorite topic, which is development of technology. How do you see the future of technology? Do you believe it, like Yuval Harari, that human beings will become worthless in front of the machines? Do you subscribe to that theory?
I do not agree with him, not in that respect. I think what will happen is stage number one, repeated automation will take over most of the jobs as we know them today. Look at the factory of
And
Mercedes-Benz.
what happens to those who cannot cope with the technology? A truck
Yes.
driver,
So-
he cannot be made into a software engineer. So he will have to leave the scene.
40-50% of the population will become unusable. That's
Yes.
the term. Unusable. That I agree to. Now, if you want to mitigate that, the favorite topic of education. The education, the way it is now, has to be reinvented. Before you came into the picture, 2002, I met the then chief minister and I said I will computerize all the schools in Kerala. Nobody in the world had done it. And I danced around that problem even as the chairman of Asianet because I could open some doors with, figuratively with my leg, not with my hands. Even then, the last I heard about the topic was, why don't you do that in Malappuram? Because the minister was from Muslim League. I mean, economy of scale worked on a project like that. And when you're asked to do that in a place like Malappuram, I thought, are you wasting my time? I moved away from it.
Right.
I had-
Anyway, we missed many opportunities of using technology in education. Till the pandemic came, we were running around helter-skelter for connectivity. Children were climbing trees in order to get connectivity.
TPS, there are two things about technology and education. Okay, one is to like Byju's, which is a very huge success story. I'm happy that a Malayali company is doing so well, but then I'm not talking about that kind of education. Curriculum-based education, curriculum that is written, defined by people of yesterday. People of yesterday, excuse me. You haven't read a book in the last 30, 40 years. You are an old MSc, you are an old BSc. I saw that this time when I was in Kerala, the chief engineer, he's a very smart guy, but his knowledge base is what? 30 years old.
Physics, chemistry, biology.
I don't talk about our political leaders, what their education levels are.
Anyway, today in the budget, they have included a lot of provisions for improving the education system, which I have been clamoring for. Fortunately, now finally they're coming around to that. Let us see how it works.
I believe that the educational system in Kerala, in India, has to be reinvented. You have examples of Finland and New Zealand and areas like that.
Okay? Even China
too, where the smart kid, the issue is in finding smart kids. They are the shakers and movers of tomorrow. And they are the ones who contribute. The industrial revolution, the science and technology, they were not brought in by masses. They were not brought in by politicians. It is the smart heads, the few individuals who made them. We have to find those individuals, those smart kids who are the shakers and movers. That should be the purpose of the society. I don't see that happening.
But can we have another technological revolution in Kerala and India in the light of all that has happened? Because science is moving very, very fast, as you know. Technology is moving so fast. Can we catch up with it? Or by the time we catch up with it, it will have moved further. How do we deal with it?
We are in the fourth industrial revolution. The fourth industrial revolution, okay? In 2002, I had talked about manufacturing computer chips with the Kerala government. Okay, nobody understood me then. India did not have chip manufacturing. Now they are talking about it. The central government is talking about it. I had talked about it on the basis of my relatives working in Intel. My niece's husband was the vice president of Intel. He left the job for somebody else. I have two nieces working in Intel in leading positions. You know that Indians, how they fare in US in leading technological companies. So why can't we? We don't have to be the coolies doing some of the software work at nighttime. And I mean, we don't have to be that. But I think that revolution is slowly happening in India. I hope so. But we are not in the hardware side. We don't make chips in India, to my knowledge. That is an area where I think the Indian government is talking about putting up a number of factories and things like that. But with the will, given the time, we will do. We should be able to climb that ladder. I don't see a problem.
No, but that's because you have even just to stand up, you need to run. That is the situation to catch up with what is happening around the world. And that is what is going to leave us behind all the time. whether we'll be able to fill that gap between our technology and theirs as time
So yeah, we should have policy. So we should have policies wherein we can run
yeah.
like Bolt, overtake them, and look from front backwards. There should
That's
be
what,
policies to that. I believe that we have the talent.
and we are the individuals. Let us look at the technology in the US. Most CEOs are Indians, but they are
Absolutely.
not working in India. That is the only difference. And therefore, they work differently. But you are optimistic about technology in India.
Absolutely. I think technology is going to deliver the egalitarian world of tomorrow. I believe in that. Not politics, not governments.
Good. Well, you have been outside the public eye for some time. I know you made it a point to appear today because of my request to you and our friendship. So, what have you been doing in these times apart from business? I know you are interested in literature. You are inspired by Carl Sagan's Cosmos. You are a thinker. Deeply, you think about the problems of the world. You can write poetry. Tell me all about your literary activities.
Okay. I was a good student. I was not possibly an excellent student as my brothers were or some of my sisters were, but I was the restless one. I was the college chairman. I was into sports. I was easily one of the best students, etc., etc. But nobody, no teacher, nobody inspired me during those days. And I read Carl Sagan, Cosmos, the book he wrote in 1980. It came into my hands in 1995. And that's the first time. I was like 46 then. And that's when I realized there is so much that I don't know. And that is how I took on the role of a eternal student. There is so much to learn.
You became a researcher, right?
Yeah. And hydrocarbon area in Ukraine was a fiasco of sorts. Okay, I wasted a lot of money there. That was stupid of me in a way because I didn't take any bank credit or something. It was all my money. And then parallelly, what I was deeply involved in was I contribute to a lot of science journals. I keep abreast of what's happening in the world in the field of science and technology, and that excites me quite a bit. And the more I know, the more I understand the vast area of what I don't know. And hence I call myself ever knowledge hungry. I'm willing to learn. I mean, I have no need for doing PhDs and all that. I don't have to show that paper and convince somebody that I have done it. I did it for knowledge, if at all. I mean, a way of approaching science, at least in the humanitarian field. I still have that hunger. And my greatest, I want to get back to education once again. I haven't got a fix on it. I will, because I think the kids of today, somebody has to open their eyes into the world of tomorrow. Their parents are not capable of it. Their teachers are not doing that. The governments do not have the vision. So somebody has to do it. I'm saying above carry, somebody has to inspire them. If I'm able to inspire 500 kids in Kerala into changing the way they look at the world, smart kids, they would be the shakers and movers of tomorrow for Kerala. I would be happy to do that. I hope I will get to do that in the years to come.
Okay, finally, you are best known in Kerala as the man who, I mean, in whatever role, the man responsible for Asianet. That's very clear. And it will be very easy for you to return to the world of media. How does the world of media attract you? Do you think you'll never get back there?
I believed in the responsibility of the fourth estate when I took over running Asianet. Okay, in 1999, when I took over the company from Shashi, I didn't take it over. I mean, it had been whisked away from me. I took it back. In that respect, yeah. I had given him 50% shares, and 5% was not registered. So that happened to be that continued to be in my brother's name. That had not been registered. And once I had that, I had 55% shares, and Sachi had to come and say, "Sorry, uncle." Okay, that is the real story.
Right.
Okay, I had no clue about Kerala. I didn't know the politicians here. The last movie I had watched was Sheila and Prem Nasir and all that. If you showed me in 1999 when I came to Trivandrum, some of the leading actors, I wouldn't know who they are. I have pictures where Mr. Achudanand was standing next to me. I didn't know who he was. That was my knowledge about Kerala. Then I told myself, look here, if you want to be the chief editor of a channel, and if you want to be the chairman of a media company, then you have to learn. You have to read and understand. And I went into an intense stage of trying to understand Kerala culture. What was happening on the entertainment side and things like that. With regard to the news segment, I had always said, I am not pro anybody, not pro this party, pro that party. As long as you are objective, I am with you.
Yes, that was the.
You remember that famous case where the ice cream parlor, Kunyalikutti, and all those things. And what I told them then was, I'm not worried about what he does during the night. You want to crucify him for being a bad industrial minister? I am with you. I am not worried about what he does at night or what he did not do at night. If at all that lady is evolved, my only complaint is such poor taste in women. Sorry. That's what I told the news guys in Asianet. I'm sure some of them remember that even now.
You had to go to court at one time because of a report done by one of your reporters, didn't you?
I don't even remember. Unimportant for me. Those days. Okay, getting back. Yeah. I look at the channels today. Somewhere international news has become unimportant, and somebody being raped there, somebody. Okay, if I talk about it now, it would look like the case of the so great, the old story. You know what I mean? I'm saying that, but I look at what's happening in the channels. Am I happy? I'm not.
And India as a whole, there are so many new personalities, trends, channels owned by political parties.
There is a very popular channel, Beyond, and there is a good-looking girl who does the program. There's a lot of girls and a lot of
very much like Al Jazeera or CNN, because they are not focused only on India.
Yeah,
they have a global.
On Beyond. I have a lot of middle-aged men who are enamored by that, the way the lady speaks, etc. She went to Kyiv and made a report. I said, "Excuse me, did you study the background?" And most of the television programs today, they have become judgmental. That is not your bloody job. You are what, a BSc, a BA from yesterday, who happen to be a correspondent now, and you are taking on the job of judging what's happening around the world? Based on what?
Their job demands that. Instant analysis is required. So nobody cares what happens in the future, but what she says at that particular moment grabs attention.
And then say something that is responsible, that you can stand by it, that you are not ridiculed tomorrow.
That's what she just heard. That's what she just heard. So she's just making a quick analysis. And that is what's happening to the media today. Because people are carried away by those impressions of these young people who really have no background of the situation. That's the sad part.
When I was getting Asianet, I wanted to do a research group. I made the mistake of making.
You did that from the World War.
Yeah, my mistake then was I did not micromanage Asianet. I came and said things and I went away. I had brought program scripts for more than 200 from all over the world, from most of Europe, from Russia, from US, etc. None of it got done in Asianet because we didn't have the writers, we didn't have the looks, we didn't have the talents. There were 100 explanations then. Now, I'm not finding fault with anybody. I'm saying the old staff of Asianet who are working there still. I'm sure none of them can say that was not the case. Okay, so okay, the explanation was we can't throw that sort of money to do a program like that with research and things like that. So one problem is the funding available for these channels. Most of them are on a shoestring budget, and there is not much research you can do. So all you can do is, and then after CNN, you got into the habit of live programs. For heaven's sake, why live? If you don't even know what you are talking about, and you are in a rush to do a live program, why? Because CNN did that during the Iraq War. You are copycatting that even now.
Well, so no return to the media, right? As far as you're concerned.
TPS, I am 73. I am healthy. I have a young wife. I don't plan to die in the near future. Hopefully, all that, yes. But if I come back to media, I will take it as a full-time job. I can't do a media thing as one of the things I do. I won't let that happen. I won't do that. So if I go back, I don't know. I will be on it.
Yes. So you have several things to do: education, technology, and media. So let's hope that you will be able to come out of the
you can't stop your heart from your brain from wanting to do things,
Right.
And then I believe in one thing, I had the rare opportunity. I'm a village bumpkin. I come from a village, right? I went to Moscow, had the opportunity to study in a university where there were students from 89 countries in the world. I became a world citizen. I was lucky to get into business. My first LC in 1983 was $5 million. And I never drew salary from anybody. I never had to call anybody sir. And I could travel around the world. I could meet so many people. I have the exposure. I handled so many industries. I was in touch with so many heads of industries all around the world. All that experience, and then I'm very much into science. I have 10 PhDs in my family. My father, and his children, 4 generations. There are 10 PhDs. Most of them from leading universities in the US. My brother did Cambridge and Harvard, MIT, Yale, you name it, we got it in the family. Okay. And then I have a number of eminent people in the world whom I use as consultants. If I don't understand something, I phone up and ask them, what is this? And all that knowledge going waste, I must do something with it. It will die with me. So there I have a responsibility.
So hope you
that is sort of a driving force.
Yeah. To welcome you back. I'm sure the message will go that you are ready to do something more and more responsible. Well, thank you very much, Dr. Raji Menon, for joining me today. There's been
You didn't ask me about my poetry.
Yes, let's conclude with that.
A quick one there.
You don't know about it because you don't publish that. I have heard
I don't plan to. When I was a college student, I had good command over English, and in the college magazine, I wrote some 3 poetries and 2 essays or something like that in different names because I couldn't put it all in my name. And then Mr. Sachidanandan, who was a teacher in KKTM College, who is an eminent literary figure in Malayalam.
Yes, absolutely.
He edited my poems without my permission. I still have the sore tooth here. Okay, and what came in the college magazine was not exactly what I had written, because I repeat, it was edited without my permission. And then later years, I have a daughter who had her education. She's a brilliant student, and she got admission in Cambridge. She said, no, Dad, I'm an arts person. Went and finished Central St. Martin, came out with flying colors, and her behavior with me is not what exactly I am conditioned to as my behavior with my father. So we have these problems, and once I became emotional and wrote a poem. And then my next introduction to poetry was In Your House.
The Kerala
Okay.
International Center
Absolutely.
Literary Forum. Yes.
That is what, 28 months ago?
Just before the pandemic. Just before the
Yeah,
pandemic.
before the pandemic.
Yes.
And I have today 330 poems.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. So we must resume our poetry sessions. Even if
And
you know,
quite a bit of them are about science and technology, and very few about the way people, I mean, love and empathy and things like that. But my idea was through poetry, if I can read the youngsters and make them wonder, wow, we didn't even think like that, or wow, we didn't even know this.
that was the
That is
reaction when you read your poem at the literary forum in my house. You know, people reacted. Oh my God, did you see a point of this eminence? That was the surprise that everyone had. Anyway, that's another field for you. So you have many things to pursue.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Menon. It has been
Thank
a
you.
great pleasure. Thank you for coming out of your shell and sharing your thoughts with the world. They will really appreciate it and welcome it. And all the
Thank
very best. Hope to see you again very soon. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. All the best.